Good afternoon, everyone. Maury Curtis Dunbar here, back at Painted Studio. I'm going to just play with my camera stuff just a second so that I can set it to the side and see what's going on so that I know you all can see me. All right, let's get me. Here we go. Now I can see all the screens so I can see who pops in, wants to talk to us. And I appreciate you being here on a beautiful Thursday afternoon. I haven't played with resin for a while, so I thought today would be a fun day to do something I was watching a whole lot of videos on YouTube and TikTok and everything, and seeing how we can make it work, if it does work with the products we have. There's a way we have... Sorry, let me backtrack. I saw some stuff on using silicone oil and epoxy, and of course my first thought was, is that going to work? Is that going to affect the way it hardens? And apparently it doesn't. It affects the way things, the pigments break up, but then as the silicone hardens, as the resin hardens, the silicone comes to the top. They use some different products than we're going to use, so we're going to see how this works for us. It looked like a fun thing to try. So, first thing we're going to do is mix epoxy. And I have a whole stack of gloves next to me. And I've already pre-poured my art resin. You can also use our liquid glass. It's just that I have 2 big jugs of art resin already open. And so that's what we're using today. As you can see, I have a variety of molds here because we're going to try this several different ways, because I, honest to God, don't know how this is going to work with different things, and I wanted to experiment a little. So I've poured equal parts of hardener and resin. That is the requirement for both liquid glass and art resin epoxies. I usually get asked what's the difference between the two. Art resin, it cures softer, more flexibly, and it stays that way. It's, you know, if this stuff, once it's cured hard, the thin pieces, they get warm, they bend. Art resin cures a little harder. I like art resin for food surfaces because it is guaranteed food safe. I love liquid glass for tabletops and counters. It dries harder. So I go back and forth with the two products depending on what I need it for. And if you have any questions on which one to purchase for which idea, definitely send us a message and we'll give our recommendations. Okay, so each of them are both equal parts. You don't want to not have it measured correctly, because if you have too much hardener and not enough resin, it will start to harden before you're even ready to pour it. And it will kind of clump up. If you have too much resin and not enough hardener, you might get soft spots. You might get a resin that never actually cures right. So definitely pay attention to your measures, pay attention to what you're doing. The 2 containers usually come with 2 different colored caps so you don't mix them up. I usually, when I have both jugs sitting next to me. I take one jug, I pour, and I put it somewhere else, because then I know this one here is the one that I didn't pour. Have I made that mistake before? Oh yeah. One day, and I think you all saw me do it on a live, I think I poured the same thing twice, came back the next morning, and it was all goo. And the only reason that I threw it out is because I couldn't remember which one I had poured. So there was no point in trying to save it if I couldn't remember what I needed to mix into it. All right, so this is a pint container. It looks clear right now, but as you start to mix, it's going to go cloudy. Now, I'm gonna take my glove off for a second before it gets really messy in here. Well, actually, let me do the mixing, because it's not that exciting to see up close. But if you look at it, you can see it kind of goes cloudy, and you can see cloudy threads that run through the whole thing. Once you get it so that there is no cloudiness, and it takes a minute or 2, your resin is mixed evenly. But make sure, just because you're stirring like this and it looks clear, you have to still scrape the sides, get all the stuff off the bottom, because that's where you're going to have failure if you haven't had the bottom or the sides scraped up and it's not completely mixed. So when you pour it down and then you get to this part and you're scraping it off to get into something, you have a bad resin mix and bad things happen. It doesn't work well. Usually what it is that's the gooey part. That's the hard part that never ever hardens. Now you can mix it fast, you can mix it slow. I know some people use coffee cup warmers to put their resin on top of in another kind of container, not this. I think this is too soft. It would probably be a little melty on top of a coffee cup warmer. Because the heat will liquefy the epoxy more and raise the bubbles, but also remember that heat that you're putting on it will help speed up the cure. So if you've got a lot of stuff to do and you don't want your epoxy to get curing faster than you're ready for, just mix it up and pour it and then use a torch or a heat gun to pop the bubbles. I always use the torch. It's fun, entertains me. Also because of the way our building is wired, when I put on a heat gun, it blows all the breakers. There's another technique that I want to try that actually you do need a heat gun for, because you need the hot air blowing. We'll see what happens. I have to go find my heat gun too. I think it's in the basement of my house. And for those of you who remember, a year and a half, a little over a year ago, my other house we were burned out of, and a lot of stuff got thrown into the basement of the new house, and we are literally going through the whole basement this summer trying to find stuff and get rid of all the extra. It's a massive purge going on in my house. I'm even making my son do it because he has a habit of hanging on to clothes that he's had since he was like 12. And I guarantee you, he was 6 feet at 12. He's 26 now and 6'4", and the body mass and the height, not a damn thing fits him. So he's struggling with like, but I have so many memories with it. I said, keep it in a memory box then, kiddo, but it can't stay in the basement. So he's a little sentimental like his mother. I have a hard time throwing things out, and then it all gets to be too much, and yeah, I just pitch things. I just throw it out. I get frustrated. I get tired of looking at it. It's taking up space. Boom, it's gone. All right, I think we're about mixed here. Let me take a look. Yeah, I'm going to scrape the bottom a couple more times. I'm going to scrape the sides a couple more times. And give it another stir. And we look well mixed now. Not a bit of cloudiness, just some bubbles. So I have no idea how many colors I'm going to make today, so we're just going to kind of start and play with it. I know I need at least 3 or 4 going to begin with. So let's take some in here, and we're going to pour small amounts of color because we're working in coasters, and then eventually whatever's left over is going to be poured into the skull mold to the side, because you all know I can't just pour a little epoxy. I have to pour a lot. Plus, we are getting ready to be in the Brookfield Farmers Market this summer, so there's always a lot of making of stuff that goes into that, so that we have plenty of cool stuff for our local people to pick up and enjoy as gifts. You know, it's like some of our farmers market is a little bit of a gift market. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is mix up some, let's see, we're going to go purple, mermaid blue, and apple green. I think I need a 5th one here. We're going to put a little golden yellow in there, and then we're also going to put some white. Now I'm going to put, I don't need to cover my hands to put the epoxy pigments into this stuff, but once I get to the white pigment, because I've knocked it over so many times, it actually spent 15 minutes cleaning up the containers that I had everything in today because it was such a mess. There's that. There is a little apple green. These are our art resin epoxy pigments. All of them have a beautiful metallic shine to them. They are not plain colors, they are metallics. So they give a really lovely effect, but a little bit granular looking because of the way they dry up. And of course I meant to put, well, we're gonna switch colors around because I don't know what I was doing. Not paying attention. Let's put a little mermaid in here. We're gonna make this one blue and gold with a little white. It'll all get made up one way or the other. This is a color that I had a sample of called Indian Spice. Now this is the only one of the art resin pigments that I have that we don't have in stock. It was a sample and I just wanted to play with it, use it up. Okay. Put that to the side. Ugh, wipe my fingers. Blech. Let's mix these up. Everything's a little sticky because I had the white pigment leaked all over my epoxy pigment container, so I finally cleaned that out. Oh, it was so gross. All right, so there's our Indian Spice. Here is the Belize Blue. Now you can make these more pigment dense, but I'm going kind of gentle on it because again, this is a technique that I'm just figuring out. All right, let's get that mermaid mixed up. That mermaid color is so cool looking. It's really nicely teal with a little metallic, but I really went a little too light-handed on it. So I'm gonna just sprinkle, probably because I poured more epoxy into this cup without thinking. I'm also, if you saw our post yesterday about the new snake skin foils that are coming in, I'm sort of playing with those colors because I figure maybe I'll do some coasters in it, and then next week when they come in, I will do some cups to go on them. I thought that would be kind of cool to do as a like a multi-project idea. Okay, so we have apple green, we have Indian Spice, Belize Blue, and Mermaid. Now I am going to shift our camera down, put our focus down on what I'm doing here right in front of me. Let's take one of these big squares. I'm going to try to set this up, and I still have the white to mix up. Let me put a fresh pair of gloves on. And you know, I'm not a huge one for putting gloves on all the time because I need to feel things when I work. That's just me. But I will tell you right now, with epoxy, put gloves on. You'll never get it off your hands. It's always going to be messy. Plus, you don't want this stuff absorbing into your skin. All right, this is a plain white pigment. This is not the ink sinker product that we carry that go with alcohol inks. This is plain white pigment. I got it off of Amazon. As you can see, it's very thick. And you have to watch out with this white pigment. It will take over stuff. So that's why I'm only putting a little tiny bit in here. White pigment for epoxies wants to swallow all the other colors. So you need to be very careful on how you apply it, very careful how you use it, and definitely don't over pigment or it'll just eat all your colors. All right, as you can see, it's all over my hands, which was the issue I had with the the pigments in the basket. I spent like 20 minutes cleaning all the mess out of it. All right, so we're gonna start by pouring rings, which means I'm going to pour a little blob here, and we're just going to keep concentric circles going. Now, I have no idea how this is going to come out. We're going to find out together. My big concern is maybe the white's going to sit on the bottom and not spread out, but we'll find out. So this is something similar to a ring pour. If you're used to pouring acrylics and stuff, you're just pouring color on top of color in a concentric circle manner. Each way that we do this is going to come out a little differently, so I'm kind of trying to embrace the way it's going to work and not get too overwhelmed by it. And so you can see my table's a little slanted, so everything wanted to pour down that way. Let's see if I can get this to kind of shift a little bit. Which colors did I use next? I forgot. I think it was Mermaid Blue. Now, doing coasters doesn't take an awful lot of product, but what it will do if you're doing ring pours is it's going to take several kinds of layers going on this. You can see that I have to keep filling space, I have to keep pouring. All right, let's try this. And you can see it's already sort of pushing up around the edges here. I don't know if I did this in the wrong order, it doesn't really matter. So let's come back in here with the white. And just doing it this way, and if I was putting a heat gun in here, I could force it down, pour some clear in, and it would kind of do a little bit of a dragony scale thing, and that itself would be very cool. So we may do that in a little bit, but not on this one. This one I'm going to do, well, I think I did this in such a way, maybe we will do that on here. So let's put another color in here. And then let's finish it off with a little gold in the center. So I'm getting close to the top of this. So as you can see, things are sort of curling up, and I may embrace that as it is right now. So we might do it a little differently than I'd already planned. And, you know, shocker, I do something a little different. Change my plans midway through. And then we're going to take a little clear, pour it in the center. It pushes everything out to the edge. Now, if this works, this is the dragon scale pattern tutorial that I watched once before. It was really, really cool. So let's see how this works. Now you can already see from the torching, things are kind of coming, the bubbles are coming up, but we're getting some really interesting marks. I think we're not zoomed in enough for you all to see. So let me pull my gloves off and zoom in a little more. Give me just a sec. And there may be containers of epoxy in the way for you all to see, so let me do that. Let me fix that for you. All right. Hey, Alice. Chris and Desiree, thanks for popping in, and Christine. All right, let me move some containers out of the way. I have to get used to this camera angle. I'm not used to stuff always being in the way of what you're seeing. I usually have the camera right over. So if you look at this, there's a couple really cool bubbles that happened, and now all of my rings have kind of gone starburst shape, and things are coming up really interesting. So let's do this one more time. And I'm kind of torching into the center a little bit because I want everything to go in a burst pattern. All right, now I'm going to slide this carefully to the front. Now some of these are new molds, so I sprayed the ever-loving crap out of them with silicone today because that was a big deal in my last pour. I used some new molds and nothing wanted to peel off. It was a bit embarrassing. All right, let's try this other style for doing the silicone oil. All right, so we're gonna take one of the rounds here, and let me see what we did, what I was thinking here. So we filled this, they filled this with a base with a dark color. Got to remember how it was done. That's part of it. Okay, it was filled with a dark color. Other colors were sort of dribbled in there. Take a little of the green because that'll pop really nicely. Let's get the white. Now. As you can see, the white is sort of sinking and pushing up the other colors. That I expected. Okay, I'm going to put a little bit of this around at the edges. You want to get all your colors in and get this basically filled. Now let's turn this just a little bit because I need to. Again, we're not at the level part of my table, so stuff is sort of going to want to do strange things. Okay. Now this is either going to be a success or a disaster. Either way, I'm fine because I'm experimenting, seeing what happens. This is how you learn stuff. Okay, so we're going to take silicone oil, and this is standard 3-in-1 oil. You can get it at the hardware store. I got mine at Home Depot. It's nothing fancy. I just got to get it open, which is not going to be easy given that, yep, got it open. You put a little bit of it in a cup. You do not drop it directly in. And then you take a stylus, any stylus you have, you dip and you put it in. Now this may or may not work in this. I don't know. It's supposed to cause this stuff to break apart and create cells. It may not work with what I'm using. It doesn't really seem to be, but oh yeah, it is. If you see where I dropped the silicone, it's actually creating circles in the white pigment. It's creating something kind of interesting, and you want to, you know, drop a little oil in. See what it does in different places. Different pigments are going to react differently, so we're going to try this again using some pigment and some alcohol ink. And you do want to kind of keep wiping off your stylus every couple of times you drop in. Let's see how this works with alcohol ink, because this is, now I'm starting to get some cells. As you can see, it's, the circles are happening, and then the white pigment's raising up, and it's creating little cells by opening up in the center. Kind of everywhere I'm dropping some silicone in here, it's popping white to the surface. Doing some interesting things here. This does not hurt the way the epoxy cures. I was concerned that it did, but this creates this patterning in your epoxy, and then the silicone continues to rise to the surface, and you just wipe it all off when you're done. And this is actually working. I'm starting to see it's a little slow reacting because there's so much pigment and so many colors in here, but we're getting some very cool cellular reaction. It just takes a little longer than I expected it to. The couple videos I watched, it was way faster, but it was probably because we aren't using the same products she's using. I'm using what I have in my hands and in my studio just to see if it works this way. So as you can see, looking at that, it's all turning cool and cellular and doing wacky stuff. I think that's very cool. So I'm going to put a couple more drops around here, see how much more reaction I can get, and then I'll torch it in a few minutes, but I want to let this rise up a little bit. I want all this stuff happening, and I don't have any idea what this is going to look like on the bottom. Let's keep coming here in between all this other stuff, see what it does. And the thicker, the one thing I did get is that the thicker your epoxy is, the less it's going to react, the slower it's going to react. So this is pretty cool. Let's see what else I can make happen here. And make sure to wipe your stylus off from time to time so that you don't have, you're not depositing epoxy back into the silicone. All right, look how cool that is. I don't know how well you're going to see this. I'll probably do close-up pictures, but this is literally as close as the camera will let me zoom in. So we're going to push that all the way back here. And give it a little twist. We're going to turn this one because it wants to shift. Again, because the table's not terribly level. So I always suggest making sure things are level. Okay, so let's take another square here. We're going to mix up a few other colors. Let's do some pinks and oranges as well. And we're going to try the center burst with pinks and oranges. We're going to make a whole bunch of coasters, trying different color combos, seeing how that works. And a if there's anything left, it'll go into the skull. Okay. Let's see. I wanted to do some pink. This is our amaryllis color. Now, I may be missing some comments and questions because I can't easily touch it. Thank you, Alice. Hey, Desiree. No. Okay, I just want to make sure I didn't miss questions. Everything looks, I think I probably said hi to everybody before, but I can't tell because if I touch the screen with my fingertips, man, I'm going to ruin my screen. Okay, there's a little amaryllis color. Let's do that. Gold. Let's do a little orange in the clementine color. There we go with that. The clementine is sort of a deep orange, like a blood orange color. It's not bright orange. If I wanted a little pinker, I could put my, where's this? Is this? That's the wrong one. Got a little wild coral, we'll put that in there too. It reads a little pink, but that might lighten up my, it'll probably lighten up my clementine just to be a little brighter. There we go. So you can even intermix the pigments to get the colors you want. And I think we're gonna do a little purple too. Dang, this stuff, this is looking so cool. I'm so excited by this. I will move all the colors so you can see what I'm pouring, but right now you're just watching me mix pigments in. Now, you saw me before. I was mixing by measuring out a little on the tip of a stick. This is why my jars all get messy, because all of a sudden I just start pouring out of jars. Okay, there are all my colors. So, and we still have white and we still have gold, which I'm going to need. We're going to put the green colors back. Let me set all of this to the side so you can see me as I'm pouring. All right, so we're going to start with the amaryllis color right in the center. And then a little gold. And let's go in for a little white. And then a little of our Queen Stiletto Wild Coral mix. Mountain Mist, a little bit of white again, with the amaryllis again. And with the gold again. Mountain Mist again. I'm switching up the order just to see how the colors read. And let's see. Let's go put with our coral mixture. Okay, so we've got that pretty well filled. I want to do a drop of white and another little drop of some other color. And come back in with the amaryllis because that's probably the one I have the most color of. Okay, so again, you can see all the colors are sort of pushed out to the edge. Where's my clear? I'm sorry if I'm putting this all in front of the camera. I keep remembering the angle's different. Move everything out of the way so I can slide this one up. Again, we're going to go right into the center with the clear until it pushes everything out and we've filled the coaster. Full? Yeah, we're full. So you can see how it does. It's going to form that X shape. We're going to take our torch, and it's one of the only times you're going to see me torching into something because the silicone molds can take it, but what it's doing is it's pushing colors under and up, and again we're getting some kind of cool bubbly reactions around the corners. So we're going to set this to the side. Let's move everything to the side so that we can get a couple more of these done. Gentle, 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 because I'm kind of adhering them. You can see that I've got blue goo all over the place. Yes, I'm trying not to screw that up. But, oh well, if I do, it happens. Alright, so let's go again with the dark color on the base. Just going to fill this up with the rest of the amaryllis. And the last two coasters are going to be whatever amalgamation of whatever epoxy mixtures I have left. I'm just going to, you know, kind of pour it all in and see what happens. Let's get this all over the bottom here. Go. Okay, that one's pretty well used up. So let's take, let's take the Queen Stiletto in the center here. Go. Let's take a little bit of the gold on either side. Let's do a little purple on the sides there, that. So you're not looking at that. Okay, so you can see the colors are already sort of mixing themselves up a little in here. That's perfectly normal. I'm just going to take some white, kind of throw it around. Need to make sure these things are full, so I might have a lot of white right in this one. And again, I might come back with a little more purple. And you're going to notice that each of these is going to come out differently also, because I don't know what this is going to look like on the bottom. It could be a totally different pattern on the bottom, and that's part of the fun thing to figure out. So let's get the silicone oil here and start dropping it in. Sorry folks, I hope that didn't interrupt. I put us on airplane mode, so I don't know why that came through. It should not have. Okie dokie, let's put some silicone dots in here. And again, this is not going to be a speedy reaction. You saw it before. Right now we're getting some globs, kind of cells, kind of looking like globes popping up, and then they're going to break apart. So we're going to put some in the center. And then we're going to go around. See what it does. And then let's come back out and do some more. And again, it's a slow reaction with our epoxy and pigments, but it is working. We are getting reactions. It's very cool to see what pigments react what way. And I don't think you can really see the other swirled one in the blue one is now starting to swirl itself almost and look like a globe. So I kind of am digging that. Nice and 60s of me. I'm digging it. What's happening is the silicone oil is kind of bringing up some colors from the bottom. And you're going to get some really nice reactions. And it's happening. It's slow. If you look at this one where I've been putting it, you're starting to see these little cells pop up, and they're coming in, and they come in differently. They come in much stronger and faster where the white is. Where I've got a couple solid colors close together, it's a little harder to see. But if I want more reaction, I might be able to go back into this silicone and put some drops into the center of the white and get a little more expansion happening. But it is starting to look very kind of cellular and skin-like here. So I think this is very cool. I'm liking this experiment. I'll bring the camera over, I think, at the very end once I've cleaned my hands off. And we'll take a look at what everything finally ended up looking like. All right, so we're going to do kind of dumps of color here. We'll do, let's do a ring pour this time with these colors, and then do the silicone oil in it and see what happens. You really, really do need to have the white, because the white reacts, it's much more visible reaction than some other colors, probably because it's so opaque. Now let's do this one. Let's see what else I've got good amount of. I've got plenty of green here. And then let's go back into the mermaid. Now the cool thing with even a ring pour like this, if your table's level, which mine isn't, so everything would kind of shift anyway, you can just sort of do this and see what will happen. Now, because like I said, these are new molds to begin with, there's quite a bit of silicone spray in it, and that's already affecting the way the white is coming up at the edges right here, these kind of cells that are starting to show up. That's the silicone oil from down below pushing the white up. So that is actually very cool. Let's get a little more color in here. I forgot what I did next. Let's do this. Okay. And then green. So you can see the white's already being pushed up right around here if you look at this edge. And this is silicone reacting from the spray that I used to work on the mold. Okay. That's that. And then let's put a little bit more white in here. We'll put just a little dot of something in the center, so it's not a dead white center. Let's grab a little bit of gold. Okay, so I've got all of this happening already. All these colors are sort of pushing themselves out from under, but now we're going to add the silicone drops on top and see what that does. Now they're small for you all to see, but I can already see it starting to react around the edges. It'll get bigger and you guys will see it better. This is pretty cool. So if you see right here, we're already starting to have the white break open into cells. Oh, this is awesome. And again, I'm using cheapo 3-in-1 oil, silicone oil that I got from Home Depot. I think this was like $1.89. So this does not require any fancy pouring oils that you might see. You don't have to go use silicone hair products, which I don't even know how they will react. But look at that, all those cells are starting to show up. How cool is that? All right, we're gonna come in between these. This is the coolest thing. I wasn't sure if it was going to work with our products because I watched a couple videos doing this and they used other companies' products, so this was something I just needed to try to see if it worked, and I am super excited to say, oh yes it does. And it's all starting to, you might not be able to see it quite on camera, but I'm starting to get circular cells here. So I'm going to keep kind of putting dots here and see if I can get this almost to look like a tortoise shell of weird colors by the time this sets up. And as you can see, our front one here, where we put all of that silicone, it way expanded. So I might put a few drops in here and in here just to kind of get us some smaller cells. You know, this is going to take a little playing for me to see how much silicone is too much, how much is not enough. But it is a cool thing to play with. I'm really enjoying this. This is fun. I love how this is looking. And this will change as this cures. As soon, I think it'll stop shifting in probably about 45 minutes to an hour, because that's when it's going to start getting thicker. And I can come in here, and I don't want to torch this right now because I don't want to disrupt the pattern. So let's see if I can slide this without disrupting the pattern too much. So let's slide that one there. We have one mold left. So let's get her done. We're going to use up most of what I have left, I hope. If not all. Okay, I've got nice green. Let's put some purple. Let's put a little Belize blue. Get some white. As you can see, I didn't pour dead center, so now it's kind of expanding a little peculiarly. Let's use some of our mermaid. Let's use up the last of the Queen's stiletto. Green in. bit of gold left. Have a tiny, tiny bit of gold. If I take the purple, mix it up with the gold, I'll have enough something to pour in there. We're going to see what it does, what color it makes. Yes, I know yellow and purple cancel each other out, so we may end up with kind of a grayish color. I just want to use everything up, and this, neither one of these colors is enough to pour on their own. It lightened the purple up, it softened it a little bit. That's the last of that. Get that out of the clear. Let's get a little more white in here. Scrape down the last of the white here. Okay, and then I think put a little bit of mermaid in the middle. So truly an oddball combination of colors, but we are filled up in here. Put a little more in there to completely fill this up. All right, so you can see the colors are swirling a little bit. Let's move all our mess out of the side so you can see what I'm doing. All right. Okay. Got our, again, silicone oil, 3-in-1 oil from the hardware store. Let's start doing it around the center. Some cool cell activity very quickly right here in the center. I don't know why I'm scraping this. There's more than enough. I just need to dip in it. Ooh, that dropping in the center gives it almost a flower burst look. This is fun. I really like how this is coming out. I'm very surprised that it works so well, because usually stuff like this, I thought, I don't know their products. They're made, I mean, they were UK products, they were some German products. This is what I got. I'm not going out and buying more stuff to try this, so we're going to see if I can make it work just from what I've got in the studio. Now I'm making these cells much, much, much further apart than I did on the other one, because, you know, I don't know how, I want to see how each thing reacts, and if I get a reaction I really like that I want to repeat. because maybe I'm putting too much in one spot and it's getting messy. Maybe I'm not putting enough in other spots and it's too dull. But you can see, again, this is all breaking up, doing really, really cool stuff. I'm again, really excited by the way this is working. I had no idea if this was going to work at all. I'm really happy with what I'm getting. So we've got that. Now I have my little skull here, and we're just going to basically pour every last color we have in here. It will be maybe a third full by the time I'm done, because then that's cool. I'll just play with this, see what happens, and then we will layer something underneath it, which is very easy to do. I do it all the time. You just come in once this is cured, because I did use a silicone spray in here. Once this has come to a hard cure tomorrow, I will come back in with a piece of paper towel or a rag or something that has some denatured alcohol on it to wipe the surface, because I've already sprayed this mold with silicone, and silicone will eventually raise up and kind of coat the top of it. So if I'm going to do layers, I need to get rid of that silicone layer that's going to float up. Why? Because the next layer will float on top of that silicone and it won't bond to the other layer. Ask me how I know. I did one of these. I didn't think to clean out the layers between, and yeah, I had it come apart in 3 perfectly even layers. It's actually kind of funny. I was doing, because I was doing like what I'm doing today. Okay, I got all this stuff to use up. I pour it in. I did 3 days of pouring in a row. All that kind of stuff. And then I unmolded it, and literally it was something similar to this. I opened it up and it came apart in 3 separate layers because I never cleaned the silicone out. So that was a learning thing for me. But because I don't want to clean the silicone out of the inside of the mold, you also have to remember to just wipe in there with something, not scrub the whole inside down, spray the whole inside down, because then all of a sudden you're going to have the same problem you had before of stuff sticking. Okay, let's do this. I'm just getting rid of every last little bit of this. There's another cup done. This is one of the, I love pouring epoxy, but it's truly one of the messiest things to do anywhere. It's just goop everywhere. I was going to go gild some more on the corbels tonight, but there's so much goopy stuff around here that if I do it, everything will have bits of leaf stuck into it, and that's not what I want. It's all scraped out. Okay, that's one more. And then all that's left is the last little bit of this clear, and I'm not mixing another color in. I'm just going to come in with the clear, dump it in the center, see what that makes happen. We've already had some interesting reactions from the other stuff that we put the clear in the center of. So let's see how this all cures up tomorrow. Okay, like I said, maybe a third. I actually got about a quarter of the skull filled. So we're going to set all that there. We're going to put all our mixing cups together. I like to make a nice, neat pile. I have tried the silicone mixing cups. It's actually what I was using to put my silicone oil in. I don't find them very useful. So let me take my gloves off. I'm going to grab a clean pair of gloves so that I can torch everything, raise all the bubbles out. Just a quickie, and then I'll raise the camera. So let me just hold it with the paper towel. That'll work because it's not near the flame. Now, so the silicone actually helped a lot of the bubbles rise, so I didn't have to deal with too much. All right, let me open this up. Okay, so you've seen what we've been doing here. We've seen how we're playing. Give me a second. I'm going to do an awful reach over, make the camera shake, and then aim it down so I can have you guys see what these look like right now, because it's on a bad angle for you guys to see. So try not to get seasick while I do this, but I'm going to take a peek over and see if there's any questions before I do that. Okay. Hey Maddie, thank you everybody for the sprinkles. I'm sorry if it's hard to hear me. I don't know what that's going on. It may be the AC behind me, but if I turn it off, I'm going to die. Maddie, it seems like you might be having issues with your sound. So I'm hoping that's only you, because I'm not hearing it from other people, but that's okay. Let me move the camera down. Again, I apologize for the nausea-making moment we're gonna have, but let me take my phone with me so that I can see what you all see. So you guys can see where all the silicone oil stuff worked. So slide over. Angle down. There you go. Now I'm going to zoom into it so you can get a better view. So you can see all these cool cells that are forming. You can see the pattern that we got when we were pushing things into the center. That blue one just sort of swirled up on its own. So I honestly don't have any idea what these are going to look like cured, but we're going to find out tomorrow. Thank you everyone for your time today. We're going to sign off with zooming in like we have and just leave it alone. And I'll talk to you later. Thanks everyone. Bye.